there's a show that you can go see. You sit in a theater and go watch a stage show in the theater in the little town in Red Dead. You know, it's classic Rockstar stuff. It's just full of stuff to do. And this was vanilla Red Dead. I'm sure there's been updates and patches since then that make it perform better. Maybe there's more stuff to do. I don't know. But that game, despite being a little tropey in terms of the whole Wild West thing, you know, it was very one more score and we'll, you know, be able to live like kings.
Arthur, there's a whole world of butt cheeks out there, and we're gonna with all of them. I don't know about this, Dutch.
Score, Arthur.
Dutch, I don't know about this.
Come on, Dutch. We can't be doing this no more. Hello and welcome to Grass Touchers, the show where the three of us guys talk about video games we like, video games that are coming up soon, things that we enjoy, because video games are rad, even if you, like us, have no time to play them. I am Jake.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Greg.
Yes, that is right. Let's do this thing. Jared, what have you been playing? What's up?
I have been playing Dota 2, actually, which may come as a surprise to some people who know me. I used to play that game a lot. I have pee pants numbers in comparison to probably a lot of people on the stream. I have
pee pants numbers.
I have 1,600 hours logged on the game, and
wow,
yeah, I played it a lot. And there's a.
Would you say any meaningful percentage of those are like AFK hours or anything like that? Or is that pretty hardcore hours?
Maybe 200 of them. Maybe that
You're
seems
right,
pretty generous, but yeah. But I don't remember. There was never really a reason for me to leave it AFK.
Right.
And I wasn't usually doing that, but a lot of time spent on that back in the day. But it's been a long time since I played, and there's been a lot of things that have changed, including lots of new heroes. I don't know if you guys are really familiar with that game. There's a lot to keep track of.
Oh, there's tons.
Yeah,
I have played, I don't know, 4 hours like one time, and I was like, dog, this isn't it. And then I think we've said this before, perhaps, but the only other MOBA I played was Heroes of the Storm with you and your brother for a minute there, which was cool, but it's not Dota. It's slightly different. Yeah,
Heroes of the Storm was that was a lot of fun because it is a much simpler version of that, or it's a much simpler installment in that genre. I'm not going to say it's necessarily like less than or greater than Dota or League of Legends, but
it was also nice because of the IP and like recognizing some of the characters. Right. I wouldn't know a single character in Dota, whereas I'm like, oh, I've played Overwatch. That's so and so from
right. Well, I played like 4 matches so far, and I've had a really good time. That game, for those also uninitiated, takes a lot of time. Like every match is usually like 50 to 70 minutes long. There is like a turbo mode, which is supposed to like speed up, and it's a faster version. And I haven't tried that yet because it just seems like that would be weird. But I might try that soon.
And is that a new addition since you picked it back up?
Yeah. There's a lot of new stuff, and I've been trying to relearn it all. But I've been having a great time because that's what I do. Dude. When I play video games, I'm there to have a great time. And then we played a little PUBG, got a couple of chicken dinners.
Yeah, dude. We continue to like surprisingly crush it sometimes. If we lose, it's because somebody who doesn't touch grass absolutely jumped out, just SWAT team, special ops, like destroyed us, drive-by, bushwhack, or we just had horrendous luck. Right. Most of the time, all other things being equal, we're all right. We're doing pretty. We're averaging, a chicken dinner or 3 a week. As we play, depending on sometimes it's a 4-stack or a 2 or a 3. But
you also left out the heavy saturation of Chinese cheaters that are present on that game. But when
there's a reason they have a weekly ban report, and it's like, here's all the accounts we got rid of, you guys. The ban team is like, we're so tired.
Donkey Poon banned. Big surprise. Big surprise. But that's been pretty much all that I've been up to this week. Douglas, take it away.
PUBG, been fun as usual. It's always a good hang. Guys, look, if you're looking for someone on your team who is a good time, and that's about where my usefulness ends, then I am the person for you, right?
I wouldn't say that. Come on, now you're pitching in there.
Yeah, I said it so you didn't have to. Occasionally I'll have, I'll be the reason for, a victory or whatever, but it's occasionally is being generous. And so I just love the hang. It's all about the hang. PUBG's fun. Yeah. I usually am just chilling late at night with my boys, and that's a lot of fun. Much like the Tarkov thing, when we would play Tarkov, and I would just be laying in the grass, and I'm like, this is fun. I'm like doing nothing. Yeah. Like I'm literally not positively contributing to the team at all, but I'm like just immersed in like this thing, I don't know. That's how I feel about PUBG also. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So PUBG, played a little more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But work's been, pretty rad recently. Been busy at work, and so doing that whole thing, and real life has kind of taken over the last couple days, and that's cool. And had some late nights and early mornings with work, and looking at maybe dipping my toes into Spider-Man for PlayStation 5. We'll see.
Now that you've got a PS5, there's a bunch of games you gotta check out.
Yeah, I mean, the first one had universal acclaim, right?
Right.
Right. The first one that came out for PS4, right? The Insomnia, the first in the Insomnia series, right? Had universal acclaim, and the second one also universal acclaim. And I just have fond memories of playing. Did you guys ever play Spider-Man 2 for like Xbox or GameCube? Yeah, the open world one.
It's funny you bring that up. I don't know if you remember, but when we had Clay on the pod, episode 10 or 11 or whatever that was, we talked about that just briefly because he talked about Spider-Man on the PS5, and I mentioned, I remember playing Spider-Man 2 on like the GameCube, PS2, Xbox generation. That game slapped. The way that they had finally engineered the webs to actually hit a building, because it's prequel, just Spider-Man. You could fling webs through the city, but the webs just kind of went into the ether, like they didn't actually attach to anything. And Spider-Man 2 for that generation was a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. Another game I picked up on a Steam sale 2 or 3 days ago, which is funny because it seems to bounce back and forth between being $60 and being $15, and I caught it when it was like 15. Is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh yes. Yeah. So you haven't played that before?
I've never played that game, and I've heard. I mean, obviously it's rave reviews and things like that. But
I'm no Rockstar fanboy, but I can't wait to hear about that. That's awesome that you're gonna play that. I love that game.
Yeah. So I caught it for like $15 like 2 days ago on Steam. So I was like, I got to pick it up because, like I said, every time I go on Steam, I'm like, is today the day that I get Red Dead 2? And I'm like, it's $60 again. And then
that's like how I was messing around with. I was dancing around Armored Core 6, just waiting for like a Steam sale of any kind, and then it dropped a little bit, and I was like, good enough.
Oh yeah. So other than that, real life. What about you, Jake?
Oh man, some updates to the Phillips family over here, brother. We got a puppy, and she's adorable. Yes, our adoption went through at the local animal shelter. If for some reason anybody is anywhere near Fayetteville, North Carolina, I can very happily recommend the Fayetteville Animal Protection Society. They do a great job. Nonprofit, no kill, $200 adoption fees for any dog in there or less, very frequently.
Yeah, right.
And the week that
next door to the Korean restaurant, folks, you know what I'm getting at here?
Dude, check it out though. Check it out. A local orthodontist was sponsoring all adoptions the week that we went to adopt. So we didn't have to pay any money. I made a $50 donation because I was like, please, you guys are doing a great job over here. Like, I'm going to give you some of my money. But so, yeah, her name is Aurora, and she is a lab border collie mix of some kind, we think. She's super smart, but she's kind of shy and timid, and we don't know a whole lot about her background other than she came from a different shelter in a neighboring county, and they got her in, and she's already spayed. She's got a bunch of shots. She's got a microchip. All that stuff is already done. And we even get to go back to that same animal shelter for some of her follow-up appointments through April and May. So anyway, very cool shelter, very cool dog. She's
Aurora
adorable.
Border Collie.
Yeah, so check it out. This is my wife's naming idea, and I decided to go with it for obvious married people reasons. And there's a name for a Labrador Retriever / Border Collie mix. And it's a Borador. So Andrada goes Boradoriale, Aurora Boradora. And so Andrada's like full name, like if she were to be in trouble or something, like Aurora Boradora Phillips. I'm like, honey, that's silly. It's adorable, but that's really silly. So anyway, we've been going with Aurora. Her name at the shelter was Lavender, which is also fine. And the boys were like, we like Lavender. But everybody's on board. We're just calling it that.
You getting a shelter dog like reminds me of that Louis C.K. bit where he's like, why would you get a normal dog when you could get a dog that's been abused? Like he's like they're like, what's wrong with her? He's like, we don't know. She just doesn't like pennies.
She's afraid of pennies for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's great,
she's really doing very good. Just working on all the potty training stuff. She's like 4 months, and anyway, lots of fun puppy stuff. Maybe I'll put a picture up on the Instagram or something. But
so it's Aurora
anyway,
or Lavender or freaking Kung Pao Chicken. For some people.
I want to go in there. I want to go in there and like act like I was really hungry and like look at all the dogs and be like, man,
yes, look at the haunches on that one. Ooh,
yeah, just start complimenting like, now that one, how long has that been? What are you feeding that one? Right. What's going on over there? What are we? Is it grass fed? What are we doing here?
Now if I smoked this dog, I mean, I'm sorry. I meant walked this dog every day for like 3 days. How do you think their muscle would kind of feel? What do you?
Let's say hypothetically it was about 230 degrees outside, and I took the dog for a walk for about 9.5 hours.
Do you guys have any? You guys have any kennels with glass doors?
Airtight, maybe? Airtight? Do they make those? Do you guys have any?
You got a little flask of barbecue sauce.
I'm going to call this one hickory. I'm going to call this one applewood.
What kind of shelter is this? I don't even see any Thermopros on the shelf. Like,
yeah, dude. Yeah, it's a no-kill shelter, but they don't say anything about eating. Yeah.
That's right. So anyways, my dog's adorable, and it's great. I've been playing PUBG with the boys, as we've said. Fellas, I can't believe you neglected to mention we played Rainbow Six Siege last week.
Oh my gosh.
It's almost like that. The neglection of that was neglection's not a word. It's almost like neglecting that was intentional.
That's right. No, listen. Hey, listener. Siege is done. Okay? Siege is not back.
No.
It's not back. I thought we are so back. This is great. I did a little solo recon mission into the Siegeosphere, and it went great when it was just me. Me and the boys got on. No hit registration. No intentional use of matchmaking of any kind. No goodness. No. There was all bad. It was all badness. It was very bad, and I cannot describe my disappointment, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time that I can recall, I rage deleted a game. Like, we quit after finishing our third in a row match of not winning. I think it was three or four. Because we got remember the new map? We played Layer, the new map. And I was like, what? Because this is what the game needed? Another map? Like, are you kidding me? And I did not like it. It was not, like, thoughtfully laid out, I thought, at all. So, yeah, Alt F4, uninstall. Gone.
At this point, Siege is like the New Jersey of the gaming world, right? Like, virtually no redeeming qualities. And the only people that really like it are from there. Right?
Yeah. Well, and there's a select few people that can go to the casinos there and get rich. There's a few people that can mine it for content. The Macy J's of the world. Like, cool, man, you do you. That's great. But like, I can't hang. I'm getting the frick out of Jersey. I'm done. I'm moving out.
Yeah.
And the good thing is we have a ton of games that we're looking forward to playing. PUBG obviously is our current go-to. But there's lots of other stuff on the horizon, which leads me to one of the things that I'm looking forward to. Fellas, there's this game called Gray Zone Warfare. And it is an extraction shooter, a la Tarkov, or whatever that one extraction shooter we played that one time was. And here's what I like about it. I've got a video that I already sent you guys from Aculite, one of the really super popular like FPS streamers. He does a lot of PUBG videos too, by the way. And he put out a video where he got with the developers of this game. It's in early alpha. It's still being built out in Unreal Engine 5. Which, side note, looks incredible. And he was like, hey, this is not sponsored. These guys are not paying me. I got with these developers because this project looks super duper rad, and they were kind enough to let me play. I'm going to sit here, and I've already played the game a little bit and done some key binding and some stuff, but like, I'm just going to sit here and play one mission, and I want you guys to see what it looks like, because I think this game is really cool. And sure enough, it looked really freaking cool. I don't know if Aculite has touched the whole Tarkov thing, or if he's stuck to other stuff. I've seen him do videos of everything from like the finals and PUBG to like Apex Legends, and he's got a lot of sort of twitchy, skill. But this is a cool game. So the premise is you are some military dude in what I'm going to say is like Neo-Vietnam. It's sort of a woodland, jungly, rice paddies kind of vibe. And there is only one world that you like exist in, unlike Tarkov, where there's like this hub world that isn't actually, playable territory. And then you load into a map. You are always in the map, and there's this helicopter that physically comes and gets you from like a forward observation post or a home base, and it flies you to you pull up the map and you choose like to be inserted at Alpha or be inserted at Bravo. So there's this town, and there's objectives like go grab this cell phone, go grab this set of documents, and extract. And so you have to infiltrate from one of those two positions, and you choose which one. And the way the game seems to be, the development sort of track that they're on is, eventually it'll be PvPvE, so that there's lots of AI characters, which are the only ones you see in the video. And you might also run into other players, which again is kind of a Tarkov kind of thing. So it looks extremely cool. There's very minimal heads-up display. If you hit the like inventory button, you see like an X-ray of your body, and all those sort of realistic injuries can happen where you have fractures and bleeds and that sort of deal. And then there's items that deal with those. It is slightly less granular than Tarkov. He went into the inventory at one point in the video and took a set of ammo of like 5.56 and just sort of dragged it into a magazine, and it was immediately in the magazine. You didn't have to sit there vulnerable and like load a magazine manually. I think that was a welcome change. You got to remember to bring spare ammo in addition to your mags on your plate carrier, but it just seemed like, hey man, that's one thing less to worry about, because that's a huge bummer to have to kind of find a safe area and like refit, and rearm in Tarkov. So the sound design looks sick. The gun models look incredible. The realism as far as the presentation is cranked right up. They already have advanced movement like vaulting, so you can vault over objects, and the world is sort of traversable in a way that makes sense. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more about this game. So I just wanted to talk about realism. If you've watched the video, please tell me your thoughts on this game and others like it. But where is the line for you guys when it comes to realism, perhaps especially in a first-person shooter? Like, where is it more fun because it's more realistic? And then when does, where's the line of like, okay, depreciating, returns here? Like, this is past the point of realism, and now this is cumbersome or tedious or stupid or limiting. I don't get to play the game because I have to sit here and heal my broken leg for an hour. Like, where's your line on that, fellas? And what do we think of like realistic kind of milsim or survival-y type stuff?
My biggest thing, I have no problem with realism or extreme realism. There is a point where it becomes cumbersome, like Arma. I've seen people play Arma, and they're like, yeah, okay, so, yeah, you just want to switch the gun to your left shoulder, just hit Control, Alt, A2 and then right click and you'll shoulder it if your guy has the ambidextrous, that kind of stuff. That's my impression of that game. I don't know if that's true. I don't want to hate. I don't want the arm of the arm of to be breathing down my neck tomorrow. But
I've never even touched Arma. So.
No, yeah. My thing is that the true line where we're at is not what point is it become too realistic. The true line is at what point does it become so realistic that the game performance bottlenecks. Because Tarkov would be a game I would play Tarkov every day. And I would continue to do that if it was what they wanted it to be, like hit register. If that was clean, if there was not as many server issues, like if the game was playable and truly realistic in the truest sense that all my bullets went where I aimed them and all of the special rounds I put in did all the special things that they're supposed to do, I would play it all the time because that's where the thrill was initially for me with that game, was like layering a bunch of rip rounds with a bunch of AP ammo and being like, yeah, this is going to function as an armor piercing and then subsequently flesh destroying magazine. And I'd mag dump somebody and the game is just like, you're gay. You're not using meta rounds. You're using what would in real life be like practically effective, but it's just not meta. The ones in the zeros are dominating the experience. It's not really realistic. It's just them trying to emulate realism in ways that don't make for a fun experience. So that's my biggest thing. I love the realism, but it's not technologically possible yet in the ways that they're doing it.
And I guess we should even clarify what we mean by realism, right? Because it depends on the game you're playing. It depends on a lot of things. I think of when Rainbow Six Siege went through a like gunplay kind of shift. They made it so that when you go to reload, you cannot reload cancel. And it was like, if you remove a magazine that was half empty or half full, you would have one round in the chamber because realistically you would still have that. And then as you load it in the new magazine, now you have, 30 plus 1. So you've got 31 rounds. And they made it so that if your character animation has completed the part where they take out the magazine and then you try to tap fire like more rounds, you don't get that magazine to replace itself magically and you get to shoot the rest of those bullets that you had just removed. You get the one round in the chamber and that's all. That to me is a micro sort of like adjustment. Like, yes, that is realistic, but in a game that has one shot headshot 100% of the time, and where characters can become invisible and like do all kinds of crazy stuff. You know what I mean? Like that game is doing one part of the realism kind of journey. And so what I say, Tarkov does well, because you're right. I would play it every day too, dude. Oh my gosh. Yeah. When Tarkov is good, when
it's
you
good.
don't feel it's so good when you don't feel impacted by crappy servers in Russia and you don't feel impacted by cheaters and you don't feel impacted by all the downsides of that game. The immersion, the gun models, the sound design, like a lot of it is incredible. Really, really good. The parts of the realism there that they think they're achieving a facsimile of realism because they have a damage model. They go, hey, there's actual level 4 plates in this vest, and when you shoot this bullet, it only penetrates this percentage. And it's like, well, realistically, if I mag dump level 4 plates, even with bad ammo, dude is gonna fall down and run and like be pissed off and like experience some sort of damage. Like you can't tell me just 9mm ball ammo wouldn't at least do something to somebody wearing plates. Like if I've got a MPX or if I've got a Glock 18C with like, some rapid fire stuff going on, I should be able to light up anybody with any amount of rounds, or with any type of ammo. If I mag dump somebody, it should freaking do something. Yeah. And there's times where I have blasted somebody that I thought I got the jump on, and it didn't do nearly what I would anticipate it to. And I say that not from a like, it's what I imagine. I say that from a like, I'm somewhat of a gun nerd myself, and I've shot guns and shot guns at things, and you know what I mean. Like I'm not pulling that out of my butt. Never been in the military, but I know certain things about like how guns work, and it bothers me that we go for this version of realism that they call it realistic because they have like a formula and an algorithm to back it up. Right. But that doesn't necessarily make it like real. Man, that game, so frustrating.
Well,
It's so close to greatness. What about you, Dig? What do you dig? What do you not dig?
It's funny you ask where the line is with me, because I hadn't thought about that until you asked the question, right? Because I've thought about those aspects of Tarkov, I'm being specific, right? Because that's the most realistic shooter I've ever played, right? And for the record, I'm not like in real life, I'm not super into firearms. Like I have the opposite of knowledge about firearms. I have no knowledge about firearms.
Right.
And I've never really been into shooters. The first shooter other than like Halo, which is not Tarkov or Siege, that I ever got into was Siege with Jake and Jared like 4 years ago, you know? So it's a very easy answer though, where the realism stops being cool for me. And it is exactly at the point where I have to be re-explained the game every time I play.
Okay. That's a good litmus test.
That is, and it, part of it is like Tarkov, I didn't play frequently enough to get used to it. That's part of it for sure.
For sure.
But if I have to be re-explained, like, no, Greg, you can't put that kind of ammo and that thing. It's like I don't care. Give me a thing that shoots and just like let me like lay in the grass and not contribute to the team. Like that's just what I want to do. like that's just, I don't know. That's what hooked me on Halo when I was younger, is like that I didn't have to think about that. I just got to like play with a beam sword and like shoot the battle rifle and like I don't know. Maybe that's an oversimplified answer, but like, and
I think I understand what you mean, because there's I think the relationship between realism and whether something is intuitive or not, that matters. For some people, if a game is hyper realistic like Tarkov, there's things that are intuitive to them because they know how guns work. If you don't know how guns work, Tarkov is the opposite of intuitive. You know, you go, what is 5.56? 5.56. Anybody know what is this? You know, like you don't know that that's a caliber of a weapon. That means the barrel has a certain diameter on the interior of it, and like there's certain rounds that only go through like that size barrel. If you don't know what's going on, there is nothing in Tarkov that will explain it to you. Nothing. There is no, like, you can get online and go to some subreddit. Good luck, avoiding getting cancer. There's resources for you out there, but they're full of like trolls and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a game that's intuitive. So I think that's an interesting point, is like, if I can't pick it up and play it, then we have a problem already. And if I go to play it a second time, because I did like something about the first time I played it, but I don't remember a single thing that I learned, and it's so unintuitive that I now have to relearn the game every time I pick it up.
Yes.
That there's a limit to how often you're going to be willing to endure that cycle, right? Because every game, you're going to learn something every time you play it. Every game, you get a little bit better each time you boot it up. But if I can't access the full experience of the game until I've put 100 hours into it, now there's just too much. It's too cumbersome. Like, there's too much.
Well, so let's be clear here. Greg's only idea of realism is being rebirthed from the womb of Mother Square Enix and suckling at the bosom of his brand new PlayStation 5.
Final Degstasy.
Yeah.
You got me. You got me, guys.
I don't know if this is true, but I'm hearing there's rumblings that he unplugs his PS5 and sleeps with it at night. He like cuddles it. I'm just saying.
You got cameras in my house, dude? Like, what's going on?
I have sources.
Secret agent man.
Hacker man.
Hey, let's wrap this topic up with one final question. PUBG being our most recent and frequent, like, just kind of go-to party time game, what parts of PUBG do you think are, like, realistic or good or right or true to real life, at least a little bit, that add to the game? What parts of PUBG do you go, hey, that's how that would work, and I like that, because there's not nothing. What do you guys think?
We touched on it last week. I think the best part about PUBG is the realism of the movement It's pretty simplified, and a lot of the time, it's like if you're at a disadvantageous position, you're probably going to lose out in the end. Whereas a lot of these other movement shooters you're at a disadvantageous position when you're just like not playing the game 24/7, and and it's not muscle memory for you to run, sprint, slide, wall climb, clamber, do all this bizarre stuff just to get yourself. Well, it's happened to Jake and I and Greg. I say Jake specifically because we've played a lot of Apex Legends in our life. Just moments where we're like, we got these guys. They're in a terrible position. We're in a wonderful position, and they just slip out of your hands. It's easy, and it's annoying, and I hate it. And that's what I'm enjoying about PUBG. Is it's like I got somebody in the open here. They're dead. They don't have inhuman movement mechanics, so I like that.
And that to me is a touch of realism, right? If I'm behind a wall or in a building or behind cover, or I can see you and you can't see me, or I'm laying down behind like a thing and I've got a nice angle, and you're in the open and you don't have cover, or you're driving a car and you haven't spotted me yet, like as long as I don't miss every single shot, like I've got a huge advantage, and that's how that should work.
Also, I can dress my 5'11" African American character in Hatsune Miku skirt and bra and live my truth, dude. What's more realistic than that?
Yes, that's right.
And,
hey, come one, come all. PUBG's got you covered. You can live out whatever silly cosplay fantasy you want to. Nothing but schoolgirl skirts as far as the eye can see in those lobbies, dude.
And 99 other people have the liberty to gun me down. As is realistic as well. Because this is China. Okay? We don't go for that in China.
Yeah, that's what's hilarious. There's a huge Chinese fan base, and it's like massive. Greg, what about you? What do you find PUBG is at least a little bit realistic and it pays off?
Two things. One, that if I'm smart about both of these things have to do with being smart and playing smart, right? One, if I or we are smart about getting kitted out properly and putting getting good compensator for your gun and getting getting military vest and whatever else, like getting the right kit actually really gives you a good advantage in the game, and like a huge one, right? And learning to get good with certain guns feels rewarding because virtually every gun in that game you can be successful with, right? If you practice and you figure out the mechanics of how that,
and if you choose your moment, because different guns have different roles,
Yeah, absolutely. So the kitting out aspect of it, right? The gearing up like feels realistic enough to me to where it's like rewarding, right? And then the other thing is just playing smart in general, right? Like there's so many times when we've played Siege specifically where like Jake and Jared and I will like, all right, here's what we're going to do. Jared's going to do this. Jake's going to do this. All right, I'm going to do this. And we like execute the plan. And like some dude just runs out and just kills all of us, Yeah. And it's like, And it's like never in the history of like real life, like ops does that really probably happen, right? Where a very methodical operation is thwarted by some dude running out with a pistol and headshotting everybody like that. Like that's not realistic. But like in PUBG, more often than not, when Jake goes, all right, so I'm gonna do this. Dag, just do nothing. Jared,
I give you more feedback than that.
No, you do. But
and there's proof on YouTube. Check it out.
There is. But like the strategizing aspect of PUBG more often than not works out well for us, right? Like it pays off, and maybe we don't get a chicken dinner and win, but like some part of the plan goes well, almost 100% of the time, right? And like I said, Siege, whatever else, just doesn't. It just rarely ever. Usually in Siege, the way you win is by being better with guns. That's it.
That's absolutely it. I wish that wasn't true anymore, given the most recent update, but that absolutely has persisted. For me, PUBG's realism comes into play with the gunplay, the way that there's bullet drop, the way that there's really very good sound. When the game first came out, it was a huge deal that, like, if somebody is 500 yards away and they're taking some, 1 in a million, like, really tough shot, the first thing you hear is the bullet going by your head, and it has like this crack and like an impact sound on the concrete next to you or the ground at your feet. And then you hear pow from the explosion, because the bullet moves faster than the speed of sound. So the bullet impact you hear first, and then you hear crack from the explosion of the actual cartridge 500 yards away. That helps you to kind of echolocate enemies. That helps you to stay hidden when you shoot a silenced weapon. Silenced weapons in PUBG are so rad. The silencer is the most valuable object in the game, because you can, provided you aren't seen yet, you can engage somebody with, a little more immunity, right? They're gonna have a harder time pinpointing you, because a loud gun, while it is a little scary if you surprise somebody with it, and it's certainly effective because it probably has a compensator or whatever, you can maybe control the recoil better. A suppressor is going to win, like, extremely frequently, especially in an asymmetric kind of engagement where you've noticed them and they haven't noticed you. The VSS, for that reason, is one of my favorite guns in that game, because there's a lot of bullet drop, but people have just no idea where you're coming from, because the bullet impact, it hits near them, but the explosion from the cartridge on your end, that sound is so quiet, they might not hear it at all. All they hear is pop, pow, pow, pow of the bullets, hitting the tree, hitting the concrete, hitting the floor, and it takes a few bullets to kill people, but man, it rocks, because the sound design is grounded in reality. What's not grounded in reality is, like, you can blow up doors, but nothing else. And you can take a gazillion hits from an M249 to the fuel tank of your car, and all that matters is the health bar. You can shoot out tires. That's pretty rad. How many bullets it takes? Not super realistic. Shotgunning 2 energy drinks makes you run faster. I don't know if that's absolutely realistic. There's certain things that are less than amazingly realistic. But the last thing on PUBG that I'll say, boys, there's an update coming. Ooh. They have been working behind the scenes to port PUBG to Unreal Engine 5. And it's coming, like, this year. Later this year, PUBG will be getting destructible environments, a move to Unreal Engine 5, and many more features that come as a result of Unreal Engine 5. They're working on more anti-cheat. Yeah, sure, whatever. Aren't we all? Improvements to matchmaking. Yeah, sure, I'll believe it when I see it. And there's also a push for, like, user-generated content. I don't know if that means, like, mods or, skins or whatever. But it has been officially launched for, like, 7-ish years, right? The 7-year anniversary came up here recently. And the destructible environments, I'm so curious. The screenshots and videos that they've previewed, they show, like, you digging holes out of the ground so that you can, like, lay down sort of below, like, ground level. It says that you can build barriers. I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm not looking for Fortnite, I'll tell you that. Like, I don't want to go gather wood and then build a wooden fence. Like, what is that? But they say that you'll be able to strategically destroy sections of buildings, which to me, all I picture is Battlefield. All I picture is Battlefield Bad Company 2 and getting the C4 out and opening up walls and leveling buildings. I'm not sure if that will be the exact sort of vibe. But
I got some wood for you over here, Fortnite.
A lot of... yeah, I got you covered. On that one. So, anyway, just wanted to bring that up because we've just talked about realism. I don't know that this will be more realistic necessarily, because PUBG isn't all realistic. The stuff about it that is realistic is pretty rewarding and good for my play style, but we'll see. I'm very excited to see what Unreal Engine 5 can do, because everything I've seen so far is pretty promising.
So, folks, before we wrap up for this evening, I have what seems to be a recurring bit we do most weeks, which is a question I'm going to pose to everybody on the pod here.
Addiction, if you will.
Yeah, well, that name's under review.
Yeah, sorry, not very good.
What is your favorite storyline or bit of lore for a video game you have played? So this could be the actual plot of the game you think is super cool. or interesting, or the lore or backstory being very cool and fleshed out.
Right.
Or it could be you like the characters in the game, like their unique characters, or maybe their respective backstories are like really fascinating. And so I will say probably, because I don't want to name another Final Fantasy game, I will probably say Elden Ring, because of George R.R. Martin's involvement with that game. For those of you who haven't, and I won't get super into it because we're running out of time, but for those of you who have not played the game, the kind of it's a very grotesque, dark, as are all the Souls games, right? In general,
Right.
But the backstory of that game is that there's this like artifact called the Elden Ring, and before the game starts, it gets shattered into pieces, and members of this family that are like demigods, they each get a piece of the Elden Ring, and they become ultra powerful, right? And you're kind of going around trying to kill them and take their piece of the Elden Ring and assemble it back together so you can become the Elden Lord, right? Like that's the backstory of the game. But like the thing I've
never heard any of that before, by the way, so thank you for that background.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And what's really cool about it is they don't outright tell you all this stuff. Like there's not like a journal where you can like read that stuff. There's not like really waypoints on your map. You have to like go up to characters and like talk to them randomly and ask them questions and kind of piece it. I mean, you can go on Wikipedia and look it all up, and that's fine. But you kind of have to piece this together, and you start to connect the dots of, oh, this person, this like demigod is actually like the son of this person, and like it's just cool, It just kind of the game allows you to discover that in whatever way you want, and then the element of choice in that game, like choice is a big thing. That's not revolutionary for Elden Ring to do that,
Sure.
right? But like the way you approach things and the way you handle interactions with certain NPCs can really kind of drastically change how you feel about characters. It's one of those where there's a lot of when I play Elden Ring, the thing that I notice, and people say this online, is like you just need to assume everyone in the world is evil and terrible, right? Because like,
Oh yeah, trust no one.
Yeah, it's very much a trust no one game, right? And there are several characters in that game that like you like half the game you think they're like a protagonist, right? And then really quickly it's like, oh, they're trying to kill me now. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, guess guess that character I got attached to for the last 20 hours is like actually a piece of crap, And so it's done really, really well. And I love the kind of, I won't call it gothic, but I love the dark, macabre, setting of it. And it also,
and they go for it, man. It's more than most games that have tried that art style and that vibe. That game is full send, like down that lane.
Yes,
leaning into all the graveyard core, like really dark stuff.
Yeah, so Elden Ring, for sure would be my vote. What about you? Let's go with Jared.
Are we talking about? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We were talking about games with the best lore, best story. You felt the best, most like ensconced with the like atmosphere. Or
it could be the atmosphere, or it could be the storyline itself, or characters' backstories, or whatever it is.
I think there's not a lot of low-profile games that fit the bill for me, because when you think of great story, atmospheric immersion, it's kind of probably a space that's dominated by like huge AAA developers. But
right,
I think in my mind, the game that the atmosphere, like the world building, got me the most was probably Mass Effect, and then the game that felt the most alive, that felt the most like it wasn't limited by its limitations, but you know what I mean. I really felt like there was a whole world going on a whole galaxy going on in that game. But other than that, I think the most like brought in by a game that I felt is BioShock. When you first get taken down into Rapture, it was like you go down that big elevator and you can see like there's a whole city down there, and you don't know what's going on yet, but you know that like it's populous, whatever it is. But then you quickly find out that things have gone horrifically wrong, and that big question is just like, I got to figure out what happened here. I got to figure it out. And they did a phenomenal job with that. In fact, it's what carried them into a bunch of games that I would consider were kind of boring and stupid. If you hit a big enough home run,
yes,
you get a huge contract, and you can spend the next, whatever 5 years walking up to the plate and taking a dump in your pants, and then getting walked or striking out, and that to me is, I don't want to get into that. It's a different conversation entirely.
Well, you're right. That's an apt metaphor, because it took one home run to put you on the leaderboard and put you in the headlines and go, hey, whoa, look at this studio. Whoa, BioShock. What the world? I can't believe. Yeah. And then BioShock 2, whether they meant to or not, was like let down city. Yeah.
Infinite was kind of boring to me too. I remember I played the whole thing, and I was just kind of like, they're trying too hard.
That's kind of a boring game. It is.
Yeah. I liked Infinite more than I thought I would. But it was by no means as interesting as the first one, and I just don't think, this is the tragedy of successful large multimedia like franchises. You have one good thing, and it can't be one good thing. It needs to be more good things, so that so and so C-suite corporate dudes can say that they ran the studio that produced such and such, or they may, obviously their bottom line is huge. If we made BioShock and it works like BioShock did, I need a BioShock 2 on my desk 3 years from now, ready, set, go.
And they did it.
And they did it, and it went the way that it went.
And everybody bought it. It probably made a decent amount of money. It wasn't a flop,
sure,
but it's just the same thing where it's just like, you almost know that you're almost in that boardroom when they're like, we want you to do this, just do it again. And they're like, well, we have original ideas, we could do that. They're like, no. We know what makes money. We don't care about your creativity. Just take all of the same mechanics, take the same lore, take the same everything, and we're just gonna write a subpar story, and we're gonna sell it to them again.
Which is hilarious. It's a hilarious corporate head take to say that, because you're acting like you don't care about my creativity, but guess what? Our creativity got us here with BioShock 1. So if you believe in BioShock 1 and you see the results of it, trust the team that made BioShock 1 and pay them more money and let them do it again, but with whatever it is that they want to do. Take the people that made the art and set them free. Let them loose on a new project.
But the shame is on the publications too, because the money is so tied up, and it's gotten blatant these days, and people are kind of hip to it. But the publications back then, I remember Game Informer, I think they probably gave that game somewhere around an 8. Part of me thinks it was an 8.75, maybe it was a 7.75. But that game should have gotten
no memory of that.
That game should have gotten a 3 out of 10. Not because it's a bad game, but because this is not a new game. People saw those reviews and they're like, "Oh, cool. New BioShock game got okay reviews, then I'm going to buy it and play it." And it's like, no, this is lazy, and I don't want to discredit the developers who worked on that game, because it's not their fault. But it's but it's shameful. It's like, come on. This is nothing. Well, nobody should pay for this. You already paid for this one.
Exactly. And to circle back to Greg's original point, it's the writing, it's the world building, it's the holistic creative effort that made BioShock incredible. I'll be honest with you, there's other games that were like BioShock in terms of the gunplay, in terms of having special powers and abilities, having certain puzzles that were in the game, and how in all the Elder Scrolls games there's a lock picking mini game.
Right.
In BioShock there was this release valve for this fluid, and you had to there's a little mini game where you had to put the pipes in the right order. Which I actually really love that mini game. But anyway, there's lots of little things in BioShock that weren't brand new.
Right.
But the writing, which especially at that time before AI could take over any writing, responsibilities, that was all human effort.
Yeah.
100%. Every voice line, every voice actor, every part of every script in every scene, whether it was pre-rendered or whether it was spontaneous and controlled by the player's actions. What a game. Like, it could not have been executed better in terms of a holistic creative effort. What you miss out on by just asking for number 2 to come out 3 years from now is all the processes that came in that led up to BioShock 1, right? If they go, hey, we have a totally different idea. We want to make a roguelike in space. And we're like, but you just made BioShock and it totally whipped ass and everybody wants more of that. I'm like, yeah. But we made BioShock, so listen to what we have to say, because we made BioShock.
Go play it again, then. I mean,
right. And there's there's just such a conflict of there's this like cognitive dissonance where if you want more BioShock, sometimes the best thing you can do is just go play BioShock and not ask for more BioShock,
right?
Because those same people have more ideas and. There's more to be had later. And then, one day it gets remastered, or maybe there is a sequel that comes out 10 years later and it's full of, fresh ideas. To answer Greg's question myself, I would go with, like, obviously Mass Effect. Mass Effect is so huge up there because, they had this perfect illusion of, like, and a lot of games do this. I would argue KOTOR, also from BioWare, right, is in the same vein. I can show you 4 planets, and I can show you one city on each of those planets, maybe one little bonus area outside of that city. But like I'm thinking of, like, on Kashyyyk, you went to, like, a city, but then you also went to, like, the dark, like, forest floor and then back up to the city. So there's, like, a bonus area. I can show you a few people walking around in the city, and I can show you some examples of, like, teeming with life, sort of, there's a guy selling stuff and there's a bar that you can go to and people standing around, and there's pod racing or whatever there was that on Tatooine, there was like that racing thing. There's all these little things that they give the illusion of a galaxy filled with stuff to do. And in reality, there's like 4.5 planets, and
right.
a relatively limited map. There's not that many places to go. There's not that many quests, certainly not by today's standards. But it feels like MMO big. When you first booted up KOTOR in 2003 and you went, there's more than one planet,
Right.
I get to just pick which one I go to next. Like, whoa, dude, Unfortunately, you can't recreate that now. If you try to make a game with multiple planets and you out Starfield, it doesn't go well because it doesn't matter how many planets I can go to because they're all boring.
Right.
If Starfield had the writing and the world building and the capabilities and the sort of like paradigm shift of KOTOR, then we'd be having a much different conversation about Starfield, right? But the other game, and I'm so glad that you brought it to the front of my mind by mentioning it earlier, Greg, Red Dead 2, baby. Red Dead Redemption 2 was a formative, like, narrative experience for me in video games. It really raised the bar. And I don't want to, like, holier than thou anybody, but I played that game religiously for 3 or 4 weeks straight. And I gotta say, I think I, like, I sponged up that game more than the average bear. The reason I say that is it's the game I played when Benson was born. And I told myself from that day forward, if we had any more kids, I didn't know that we would, and we haven't, and we won't. But I was like, with every kid that's born, I'm gonna pick a game and play the out of it because I want to like have like this game is with this kid. For Maxwell, I didn't really have one game. I remember playing Destiny 2 a lot because me and Clay were into that. But anyway, when Benson was born, I got 3 weeks of paternal sort of leave that I took to take home. Stay at home, and I had just got Red Dead 2, and I rode on that horse, and I shot every bad guy, and I did all these like side missions and side quests and the little mini game type stuff you can do. I went to the little theater in the like Bayou town, and I watched there's a show that you can go see. You sit in a theater and go watch a stage show in the theater in the little town in Red Dead. it's classic Rockstar stuff. It's just full of stuff to do. And this was vanilla Red Dead. I'm sure there's been updates and patches since then that make it perform better. Maybe there's more stuff to do. I don't know. But that game, despite being a little tropey in terms of the whole Wild West thing, it was very one more score and we'll, be able to live like kings.
Arthur, there's a whole world of butt cheeks out there, and we're going to with all of them. I don't know about this, Dutch.
Score, Arthur.
Dutch, I don't know about this.
Come on, Dutch. We can't be doing this no more. Yeah. That game, the voice acting is like so endearing, and all these like kind of Southern accents, that I hear tinges of those in my actual life. Certainly when I was living in Bear Creek, I was like, oh man, I've moved to Red Dead Redemption 2 City. That game rocks. That the narrative in that game is very cool. There's some cinematography kind of implemented by the cutscenes. The way that they've kind of set the camera up with a sunset or a storm or a shootout or like a horse race or like a thing. You've got some real moments where you're like, I'm so glad I have a good TV with like HDR, because like, man, this is a beautiful game. It's like cinematically speaking, it's like shot well, because it's got that Rockstar kind of polish on it. That game rules. Lots to do for sure. So yeah, I think between Mass Effect and KOTOR before that and Red Dead, I think those are my like forever. Like if I could take that script and print it into a book, like I would put that on my bookshelf, because the world and the lore and the story is that good. What I almost said was Baldur's Gate, but I haven't finished it, so I don't know if I can say, definitively. And so much of the story is up to you, the player. It's almost not worth saying. Because, you know what I mean? Like, if you play like an absolute goblin and make a bunch of stupid decisions and kill people and like, well, if you could print out that script would suck because the story got harpooned by your selfish, actions. But
and that game will absolutely let you.
Yeah, and the game will let you do that. And that's laudable by itself. But if you take your time and you try to, go to every nook and cranny and find all the cool options and find all the cool story beats, then yeah, of course it would be an award-winning, like incredible script. In any case, the performances are good, right? The voice acting is good, but yeah, great question. Writers and stories and lore and stuff. For the record, I am all for leveraging AI to do the like busy work part of video game development. But I hope that games continue to have human-centric, artistic, thoughtful, well-read, writers and voice actors, and that things are licensed. If they're using AI at all, they're licensed appropriately, and then people are given credit because AI is a tool, but it's not a replacement. I would argue, for a good old just human-crafted freaking story.
Dirty fingers. All over everything. Greasy Mountain Dew in the keyboard.
That's right. Give it to me. Give me the purple hair and the silly Twitter bio, and give me all that comes with all the
stinky
all
armpits.
the slag that all that comes with. I know we got to separate the wheat from the chaff sometime.
Right.
I want it. I want it all because some of those bozos make some good dang video games and good on them. Take my money.
Yes.
So. Well, I think that's going to about do it. Let's wrap up by doing a recap of our Interact segment. We love hearing from you guys, whether it's Q&A or kind of a ranked choice voting, poll type thing. We asked last week, what is the sketchiest fast food joint? This, of course, was in an effort to get your thoughts on me and Jared's Wendy's experience from our story last week. And I gave 5 options. They were Wendy's, Taco Bell, McDonald's, Subway, and Burger King. And far and away, the answer that both of you voted for was Taco Bell. And that's fair. And I like it. I don't know about you guys, but I have been to Taco Bell pretty late at night, especially in college. And because Taco Bell prides themselves on having, 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in some places? Like, stupid late, like... I don't know who they get to work these shifts, but God bless them. Depending on what time you walk into a Taco Bell, it's really something. Of course, we're also living in the age of Uber Eats and DoorDash and Grubhub and all that kind of stuff, where you don't have to walk in anymore. You know, if my Taco Bell is open at 1 a.m., it's mostly because drivers are coming and picking up, you know, meals. But anybody got any cool Taco Bell stories before we move on from this?
I had a buddy, not Taco Bell, because Taco Bell's near me for some reason have always been like relatively clean, not that bad. But I had a buddy that worked at Arby's for like a summer, and he almost quit, but he didn't. But he almost quit because like the entire staff, the commonality there was that they all smoked black tar heroin.
Oh God!
He was in high school. He's like, they're like, you want to smoke some freaking heroin with us in the back? He's like, no, I don't.
I just do not.
I would not like to do that. But they all did it.
Wow!
It's like, what's going on in that Arby's? All of them? Maybe one guy.
Arby's,
right?
At the Arby's, dude.
Dude, we got the meats. We got the pole.
Well, I was gonna. Yeah, that's why they say Arby's. We have the heroin.
Bum, 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 bum. Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible. God
Yeah,
bless
dude.
him for going there at all, or sticking it out for as long as he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Taco Bell. I don't have any funny like stories from Taco Bell. I really love Taco Bell sometimes. You guys,
classic.
The grilled cheese like burrito thing that they have now. It's just like a great big old burrito with steak and crunchy bits and cheese in it, and then it's like covered in cheese and grilled so the cheese melts.
Come on,
to
man.
like a crust on the burrito too.
What are you
Like,
doing to me?
I'm sorry. I know that you're a Taco Bell head. I'm sorry. It's
I used
good,
to be.
dude.
I used to be. I was heavy in it, but now
I remember we would be playing video games, especially on Xbox at one point, and you'd be like, "Oh, hang on, my food's here." And
Yeah,
you'd get up and be like, "I gotta go get it." Dude, they had a deal. They got me.
That one time that I ordered that flaming hot Cheeto, I ordered 2 of those flaming hot Cheeto burritos from that godforsaken Mexican place at like 2:30 in the morning from DoorDash. I was like, Jake, I'm about to make a bad decision. I'm like, should I do this? And you're like, absolutely, you should do this. Dang, those things were nasty, bro.
You were asking me to like talk you out of it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, dude, I'm not talking you out of nothing. That sounds awesome. Let's do it."
The
Full
first
send.
the first one rocked, and then the second one, the Cheetos were all mushy. Oh,
Yikes!
sorry.
Yikes.
I digress.
Well,
Yeah.
anyway, please continue to interact with the questions here. Deg, did you have something?
I was just gonna say it reminded me of a time I was on a business trip, and I was really late at night. I was in my hotel, and I was like looking on DoorDash, and there was this place that had like chicken, like fried chicken nuggets or something, and it was they were like caked in like Dorito crumbs or like Flamin' Hot Cheeto crumbs or something. Dude,
my.
it was like the worst stomach decision I think I've ever made in my entire life. Like instant, like even when I tasted, I was like, this isn't like this tastes like it's gonna be painful later.
Right.
And it was
Right.
it was just not pleasant. And so it's if you've ever watched the show How I Met Your Mother, they say on that show nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m. and that applies to DoorDash. Most of the time, you're not going to feel very good.
If something is open after 2 a.m., you're not exactly getting the freshest, cream of the crop product from said establishment. You're probably getting something that's been under a heat lamp for a minute, or literally just sitting in a bag, just getting soggy, just
So
waiting
gross.
for you to call. Yeah, it's really gross to think about that. Oh man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for listening. I'm so glad that we have as many loyal listeners as we do. Continue to spread the good word of the Grass Touch movement. Interact with us on Instagram, on YouTube. Check out the couple things that we're posting there. I'm going to put a question or two up with this episode as well. Make sure to subscribe, leave some reviews. Apple Podcasts in particular, their algorithm responds very well to reviews. If you leave a review, I'll shout it out. I'll shout it out here on the pod, dude. How about that? Yeah, let's get it. Thanks again. We love you all. Don't forget to get out there and touch some grass.